All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for continuing to join us throughout the day here at the Lytham Partners Spring 2024 Investor Conference. And my name is Robert Blum, Managing Partner of Lytham Partners. And during this presentation, we welcome Cadrenal Therapeutics, ticker symbol of CVKD on the NASDAQ. And joining us today from the company is Quang Pham. Quang is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Cadrenal. Before I do turn it over to Quang to run through the slide presentation, I want to remind everyone that management is available for one-on-one meetings throughout the day here today. If you've not already signed up and would like to schedule one, you can send me an email. That's Blum, B-L-U-M, at lythampartners.com, or you can visit the website, lythampartners.com/spring 2024. From there, you can click on the investor and attendee registration tab and make your one-on-one selection. So with that, Quang, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Robert, and welcome everyone to Cadrenal Therapeutics presentation, and thanks for sharing your time with us. Forward-looking statements, please. Next. Cadrenal Therapeutics is a late-stage drug development company with a platform approach to developing Tecarfarin. We have multiple orphan and a fast-track designation, and we're one study away for filing for approval and commercialization in the United States with a strong plan and a seasoned team to accelerate our path to market. Our lead candidate is Tecarfarin, a late-stage novel oral and reversible anticoagulant or blood thinner to prevent heart attacks, strokes, and deaths in patients due to blood clots. Those patients have rare cardiovascular conditions who require lifelong anticoagulation or taking a daily blood thinner. Cadrenal is focused on conditions where warfarin, as most patients may know as Coumadin as well, have failed to achieve adequate results, and the newer class of blood thinners, the Eliquis and Xareltos, have not shown any benefit in these patients. Many of you may have family members or friends who have been on Coumadin, warfarin, and you may know about these new class of blood thinners on the radio advertising. They were supposed to solve the warfarin issues, but they did not. These patients that we're focused on were not in the clinical trials. And so these patients, have these rare medical cardiovascular conditions, are stuck taking warfarin, or getting poor controls with the newer class of drugs. We're focused on these patients because they have no other choice, and they need an alternative, new medications like warfarin, and we hope the choice will be Tecarfarin. These are patients with left ventricular assist devices, or known as LVADs. These are pumps to help the heart for patients with heart failure. Another group of patients are patients with end-stage kidney disease, ESKD, and concurrent atrial fibrillations, AFib, or irregular heartbeats, and those who have thrombotic antiphospholipid syndrome, or APS. This is a rare autoimmune conditions where the body overproduces antibodies that causes blood clots. So these three rare diseases equal to about $2 billion of market in the United States alone. Next. We are extremely optimistic about the near-term potential with Tecarfarin, illustrated by these key points, as you see below, the 5 points you see below in front of you. The current care for these patients is sorely lacking, with a high level of unmet need and no approved drug or blood thinner for these rare medical conditions. That's an important point. The FDA has designated Tecarfarin as an orphan drug in two of these rare diseases or conditions. And we've spoken with physicians and researchers about the situation, and they're frustrated with the warfarin outcomes and are hesitant to prescribe drugs like Eliquis and Xarelto because there's no data showing benefits for these two. Tecarfarin has a proven mechanism of action. And as you can tell, Tecarfarin sounds like warfarin because it is in the same class of vitamin K antagonists. Tecarfarin has gone through 11 clinical trials with phase 2-3 clinical data showing that it is an effective blood thinner and it is readily reversible like warfarin while providing a more stable anticoagulation across multiple key rare disease patients with rare conditions that we talked about. That's why we're excited, and that's why the researchers that are working with us are excited about Tecarfarin. As I previously mentioned, Tecarfarin has received 2 orphan drug designation and a fast track designation as well for patients with end-stage kidney disease plus AFib. And these designations are important for a number of reasons. The FDA provides incentive to companies like Cadrenal to pursue these treatments for orphan or rare diseases or conditions that affect less than 200,000 patients in the United States. These benefits include tax credits, 7 years of marketing exclusivities from the date of approval, and other benefits to help accelerate the plan to complete the clinical trials and the path to apply for approval and commercialization. KOLs, key opinion leaders, and researchers expect strong adoption of Tecarfarin, given the gap in options for these patients with these rare cardiovascular conditions. And payers expect access and coverage for Tecarfarin. And putting all of this into context, it is unusual for a late-stage company with a multiple orphan drug designation like Tecarfarin to have a market cap like we do in large cardiovascular space with one pivotal phase 3 trial remaining. We believe our team has the depth of experience in drug development as well as commercial to anticipate starting and executing the remaining phase 3 trials for Tecarfarin later this year. We are very optimistic and are working in parallel in talking with several potential partners and taking on some strategic initiatives to advance our clinical and regulatory requirements at the same time. And this includes working with our business development advisors, the Sage Group, to identify and to continue the discussions with the right strategic partners. Next. As you can see, we have an experienced and very deep leadership team, which brings not only clinical to commercial expertise, but also identifying additional orphan opportunities, which we have. We also are lean and focused on being the most effective and efficient, especially during these times for our industry, as possible to build this company, increasing the value and sustaining value for our shareholders. We have skin in the game. I've worked on Tecarfarin since 2017. The team have skin in the game, as I mentioned, as well as we are big shareholders ourselves in the company. And both our C-suites and our board of directors are highly engaged and motivated to help us deliver Tecarfarin to the marketplace. Next. Our scientific advisory board represents key specialties from leading global institutions, validating the clinical necessity and the medical utility of Tecarfarin in medical practice in the real world setting. They continue to be invaluable in bringing clinical as well as commercial insights to us. These physicians are not only treating patients who are in need of our solution, but we hear firsthand about the unmet needs as well as issues with current therapies. Next. The problem: people and patients with rare heart conditions lack anticoagulation choices, which then causes clinicians to be frustrated with warfarin, while the newer drugs, they call them the DOACs, the Eliquis and the Xareltos, continue to be not successful in the rare cardiovascular conditions that we are approaching. This is a big problem. You know, with LVADs, these are heart failure patients given great new technologies such as the HeartMate 3 to improve their chance for survival as well as the quality of life. rely on a 70-year-old drug, warfarin. So physicians have no other choice except to put these patients on warfarin, knowing that there's a high frequency of hemorrhagic events as well as strokes caused by bleeds with warfarin and constant dose adjustment. With the newer drugs, the Eliquis and the Xareltos, there's a high reversal cost. It makes them a non-ideal solution for these patients, and some of them are not even being used at all, but they have to be considered because the frustration with warfarin. Furthermore, the LVAD patients were excluded from these studies, and they're not being recommended the DOACs for these patients with the LVADs. We feel that this is a significant and underappreciated market opportunity, given once again, let me emphasize that these LVADs are medical technologies that are state of the art. We believe that we can bring a better solution to replace warfarin for these patients. There was a study called the ARES trial published by Abbott to underscore that warfarin in combination with aspirin remain inadequate for controlling time and therapeutic range and to maintain INR, the international normalized ratio, for patients with these LVADs. So the quality of warfarin or vitamin K antagonist management as measured by TTR appears to be correlated with the risk of bleeding. The data reinforces why timing is important for Tecarfarin to be taken through this final pivotal trial to address a significant unmet need for these patients with the LVADs. In end-stage renal with AFib, the warfarin data shows that there's a higher risk of bleeding, so physicians are hesitant to prescribe any blood thinners at all, while trials with Eliquis have been halted and continue to be experimented around the world because there's no approved solution. There's very limited evidence with these newer drugs, Xareltos and Eliquis, and there's no guidelines and ambiguity in dosing recommendations for patients with end-stage kidney disease plus AFib. Next. Tecarfarin offers a very elegant solution to address these significant problems. We intend to overcome warfarin's major challenges and fill the market void still left by the newer drugs or the DOACs. Current treatments are unreliable, challenging to control, metabolize through the P450, and have significant variability in their PK profiles. So Tecarfarin was originally designed to address these problems, decreasing the risk of stroke and bleeding while providing a more reliable and stable PK profile for these patients with rare medical and cardiovascular conditions. Tecarfarin's retrometabolic design provides for a more stable anticoagulation than warfarin, thereby decreasing the risk of bleeding and stroke, and it has been proven through 11 clinical trials and over 1,000 subjects. Unlike warfarin, Tecarfarin is metabolized by tissue esterases, which are located throughout the body and not metabolized by the cytochrome P450 system, thereby avoiding the CYP450 drug-drug food interactions, as well as genetic variations that have plagued patients for decades. Next. These three rare cardiovascular conditions alone represent over an addressable market of approximately $2 billion in the United States. Next. Just a summary of our financial situation. Tecarfarin is very well capitalized, and we're strategically looking at partnerships prior to entering our phase 3 clinical trials for the three possible indications that I've spoken about. Cadrenal has no debt. The burn rate's about $3 million a year based on the cash used in operating activities. The insiders own nearly half of the company, and the incentives are aligned with the management team. Next. When you look at our Tecarfarin developmental pipeline, you can see that the FDA has provided 2 orphan drug designations for LVADs and end-stage kidney disease with AFib, and the FDA also provided a fast-track designation for end-stage kidney and AFib. And we're waiting to hear from the FDA sometime in the next 60 days regarding our thrombotic APS orphan drug application. Future milestones include trial initiation and enrollment, data readouts and publications, as well as updates on our strategic partnership opportunities. Next. Why Cadrenal now? We believe we offer an underappreciated investment opportunity now. The data has validated that the current drug Tecarfarin, the current drug warfarin or Coumadin, is not adequate, and the newer drugs, Eliquis and Xarelto, have not proven to be effective in these 3 rare cardiovascular conditions. The unmet need is clear, with no FDA approval for these indications. The future drugs are not including these patients for the trials that are ongoing in the near future. We believe Tecarfarin has been de-risked with the 11 clinical trials, over 1,000 patients in a safety database, a proven mechanism of action with well-supported efficacy and improved safety data that is available publicly. An accelerated regulatory pathway with orphan and fast-track designations, making Cadrenal one study away from submitting to the FDA a new drug application for approval, as well as commercialization on post-approval. And we're addressing a $2 billion commercial U.S. potential with a seasoned team with commercialization experience and plan to deliver Tecarfarin to the market. And we have catalysts on the horizon. Next. I'd like to thank you for spending time to learn more about Cadrenal. And this time I'd like to bring back a moderator, Robert Blum from Lytham Partners.
Yeah, Quang, thanks so much for that great presentation here. I have time for maybe just a couple of questions here that I wanted to pose. First one here, talk a little bit more about the competition and what else may be on the horizon beyond the DOACs and beyond warfarin here. What else might be on the horizon as it relates to new blood thinners?
Well, Robert, I think I mentioned before, warfarin is over 70 years old now, and the DOACs came out around 2010. And the new drugs called the Factor 11s are in phase 2 and 3 now. They're 5 to 7 years, maybe more away. The main difference, the consistency between the Factor 11s and the Eliquis drug is they're not including these patients. The 3 groups that we talked about, the LVAD patients, end-stage kidney with AFib, and thrombotic APS. So the unmet needs will still be there with this new generation of blood thinners that are being researched. We believe we are a new gen blood thinner as well to address what warfarin has inadequately addressed for the last 70 years.
Got it. Last question here. You have orphan drug designation for ESKD plus AFib. You have it or you recently received it as well for LVADs. Talk a little bit about the status of the APS orphan drug submission and potential timing of when you might hear back from the agency.
Well, Robert, I think we shared that we applied for orphan drug designation for thrombotic APS, and it's well known that the newer drugs have tried to enter that, and the trials have not been successful. We expect to hear back in the next 60 days from the orphan drug office.
All right, fantastic. Well, we'll go ahead and leave it there. Quang, thank you so much for the time today. Again, I just want to remind everyone that's listening, again, if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one meeting with management here, send me an email. That's bloom@lythampartners.com. Or again, you can visit the website, lythampartners.com /spring 2024. Click on that investor registration tab, and we'll go ahead and get you all taken care of. So again, Q, thanks so much for the time today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert and Lytham Partners, for hosting us